So this video was on the back of Johnny Bones Jones announcing that he had a big announcement to make this yesterday. Not the announcement we were hoping for. He's going on a campaign against the American Health Department or whatever it is over there. Obviously, we're all talking about wanting a fight between John and Tom for International Fight Week, Tom Aspinall. I just want to talk about the changing of the guard that's going on in MMA at the minute. I've been watching MMA since the early 2000s, the sort of like Chuck Liddell age. There's been lots of changing of guards, and we're going through one at the moment, and it's quite sad. Looking at Israel Adesanya last weekend, his best years are past him, 35 now. He'll never be the champion again in that division. There's too many. Dricus the champion, and then you've got Shimaev behind him, and Kyle Bahalio, Nozadima Imavov. So there's a changing of a guard there, and then obviously last year we seen Ilia Topuria take on two legends and knock them out decisively both times. I think Ilia, if he stays at that weight, will dominate for a long time. But if you take the rankings into account, Ilia's 1, then Max and Volk 2 and 3. Then below that, Evlovov and Diego Lopez. And I think it won't be long before Diego Lopez and Muslab Evlovov have took over into 2 and 3, and we start seeing maybe like sort of fights for Max Holloway and for Volk, where they're just sort of having, Max has got the BMF title, so we're looking at like, you know, the Poiriers and the Gaethjes and the Dan Hookers and some fun fights, and maybe if Conor McGregor ever decides to sort his shit out, then, which I don't think he will now. Actually, another changing of the guard is the absolutely massive decline of Conor McGregor. I'm a Conor McGregor dick rider, always have been. Went to Vegas last year to watch him to fight. He's come back, but he broke his little toe, and whether he did break his little toe is another question for another day. But I think his decline this last few months, we won't see him back in the cage, which is massive for the UFC. He took the UFC to another level. The UFC wouldn't have been sold for £4 billion or dollars if it wasn't for Conor McGregor. So, going back to the fight I talked about at the start of the video, a changing of the guard fight, John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That heavyweight division is weak. Look at the fights last weekend with Sergey Pavlovich, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho Rozenstruik was, I think, number 9 in the UFC at the time. He's actually been let go by the UFC now. They are crying out for new meat at heavyweight. If John and Tom does happen, so many times we've said about John Jones, like in the fight with Cyril Gane, he was talked about Cyril Gane as being this slick striker who's going to move around and take John Jones's head off. Doesn't happen. I don't think the fight for Tom is as easy as people think it will be, like a run through. I don't think he will run through him. I think Tom will win. I think Tom is a freight train that no one could stop in the UFC for unless they find someone and go to one of these regions, one of these Russian Dagestani super heavyweight, or like an Alex Pereira who's changing tires and he's an alcoholic and he's gets the call to. I don't think there's anything for Tom other than a fight with Alex Pereira that does numbers for the UFC. Tom is the star of that division. He is the changing of the guard, and hopefully I'll be there for International Fight Week to see the guard change and Tom Aspinall become the heavyweight champion of the world.